It was a regular Saturday in August 2025 when my best friend's stepmom, Karen, pulled me aside at their house in suburban Ohio. She looked me dead in the eyes. Her voice low and steady, almost like she was afraid someone might overhear, and said, "Jake, we need to talk in private." My heart was racing, pounding in my chest like I'd just sprinted a mile. I had no idea what was coming, but something about her tone, the way her eyes didn't waver, told me this wasn't about borrowing a lawnmower, planning a barbecue, or anything remotely normal. My mind started spiraling. What had I done? Was she upset about something I said, or worse, was it about Ryan, my best friend? What she revealed next flipped my entire world upside down, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Hey, before I dive deep into this, I want to know where you're watching from. Drop a comment below. Let me know if you're in the USA, maybe chilling in California, New York, Texas, or somewhere in the Midwest like me. I'm in Columbus, Ohio, and this whole thing went down right here. If you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and let's get into this wild story. Trust me, you're not going to believe what happened. My name's Jake. I'm 24 and I've been living in Columbus my whole life. Born and raised in this city where the summers are humid, the winters are brutal, and everybody knows everybody's business. My best friend Ryan and I go way back. Think elementary school, riding bikes down our street, sneaking into each other's houses to play Call of Duty until 3 a.m. We've been through everything together. First crushes that crashed and burned. High school graduation where we both tripped over our gowns, and even those awkward college years when we thought we had life all figured out. Ryan's like a brother to me. His dad Mark raised him mostly on his own after Ryan's mom passed when we were kids about 5 years ago. Mark remarried Karen, who's in her early 40s. She's the kind of stepmom you actually like. Always got a smile. Makes these killer tacos with homemade salsa and never cared if we raided their fridge or crashed on their couch after a long night. But there's always been this other side to her, like she's quietly watching, picking up on things nobody else notices. Her eyes have this way of cutting through you, like she can see straight into your soul. I never thought much of it until that day. It was a warm August afternoon, the kind where the air feels thick and the cicadas are buzzing so loud you can barely hear yourself think. Ryan had texted me to come over. Nothing out of the ordinary. Just a typical Saturday hangout. Maybe we'd grab some beers, watch a Bengals game rerun, or argue about who's better at Fortnite. Their house is this cozy too. Dory in a quiet neighborhood, the kind with perfectly trimmed lawns, kids riding scooters, and American flags flapping on every porch. I pulled into their driveway in my beat-up Honda Civic, the one with the dented fender from that time I misjudged a parking spot. I walked in like I had 100 times before, kicking off my shoes at the door. Ryan was sprawled on the couch, scrolling through his phone, probably laughing at some dumb TikTok. Karen was in the kitchen chopping vegetables for dinner, the knife making these rhythmic thumps against the cutting board. Everything felt normal, almost too normal, like the calm before a storm you didn't know was coming. I was messing around with Ryan, laughing about some stupid meme he'd sent me earlier when Karen walked into the living room. She wiped her hands on a dish towel, her face serious, not a trace of her usual warm smile. "Jake," she said, her voice calm, but with this edge that made my stomach twist. "Can I borrow you for a second?" I glanced at Ryan, expecting him to crack a joke or say something dumb, but he just shrugged, his eyes still glued to his phone, clueless as always. My stomach did a little flip, like when you're about to get chewed out by a teacher or your boss. I figured maybe she needed help with something practical, like moving a heavy box to the garage or fixing a leaky faucet in the guest bathroom. No big deal, right? I'm handy enough and I've helped out around their house before. She didn't say another word, just motioned for me to follow her. We walked through the house, past the dining room with its big oak table, past the family photos on the wall, Ryan's goofy grin at his high school graduation, Mark and Karen's wedding picture from 5 years back. She led me to the back patio, sliding the glass door shut behind us with a soft thud. The backyard was quiet, just the hum of a neighbor's lawn mower in the distance. That's when she said it. "We need to talk in private." My heart kicked into overdrive like someone had cranked the volume on my pulse. I'm not the kind of guy who gets nervous easily. I've dealt with tough bosses yelling at me, bad breakups that left me gutted, even a fender bender where the other driver was screaming in my face. But something about the way she said it made my palms sweat. Was I in trouble? Had I done something stupid without realizing it? Did I leave a mess at their house last time I was over? My mind was racing, trying to piece together what this could possibly be about. Karen leaned against the patio railing, crossing her arms, her eyes locking onto mine like she was searching for something. She didn't blink, and that made it worse. "Jake," she said, her voice low, almost a whisper. "I know what's been going on with Ryan." My brain froze like someone had hit pause on my thoughts. What? Ryan was my best friend. We told each other everything. Or at least I thought we did. If something was up with him, I'd know, wouldn't I? But the way she said it, like she'd uncovered some massive secret, made me doubt everything I thought I knew about him. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice shakier than I wanted it to be, betraying how rattled I was. She didn't answer right away, which only made my anxiety spike higher. Instead, she pulled out her phone, tapped the screen a few times, and turned it toward me. There was a photo, grainy but clear enough to make my stomach drop. It was Ryan standing in a parking lot I didn't recognize, talking to some guy I'd never seen before. The guy looked rough tattoos snaking up both arms, a shaved head, wearing a black hoodie that gave off serious bad news vibes. The time stamp on the photo was from last week, Wednesday night 10:43 am. Ryan never mentioned being out that late, let alone meeting someone like that. "Who's that?" I asked, my throat so dry I could barely get the words out. Karen's jaw tightened, her lips pressing into a thin line. "That's what I need your help with," she said. "Ryan's been lying to everyone, and I think you're the only one who can get through to him." My head was spinning like I'd been dropped into some kind of crime drama I didn't sign up for. Ryan lying about what? This was the guy who'd tell you his entire life story over a single beer. The guy who once confessed to stealing a candy bar from a gas station when he was 12 and still felt guilty about it. He wasn't the secretive type, or so I thought. Karen started filling in the blanks, and every word made my chest tighter. She said she'd noticed Ryan acting strange for months, way before that photo was taken. He'd been sneaking out late at night, coming home at 2 or 3 a.m., sometimes not until dawn. When she or Mark asked where he'd been, he'd get key, muttering vague excuses about hanging with friends or work stuff. At first, she thought it was just a phase. Maybe he had a new girlfriend he wasn't ready to introduce. Or maybe he was working some side hustle to save up for something big like a car or a trip. But then she found something in his room that changed everything. "I was cleaning," she said, her voice dropping even lower like she was afraid the neighbors might hear. "I wasn't snooping, I swear, but I found a burner phone under his mattress. A burner phone, the kind you buy at a gas station for cash. No contract, no trace. No contacts, no texts, just a single number in the call log." My mind was racing again. Why would Ryan need a burner phone? He had a perfectly good iPhone, always buzzing with notifications from group chats, work, fantasy, football leagues. Karen said she didn't confront him about it, not right away. She was scared of pushing him away, of making him clam up even more, but she started paying closer attention, and that's when she overheard him on that burner phone one night talking in a low voice from his room. She couldn't catch everything, but she heard enough to make her blood run cold. Phrases like, "I'll get it done and nobody can know." It wasn't the Ryan she knew, the Ryan we all knew. "I followed him last week," she admitted, her eyes flicking away for the first time like she was ashamed of crossing that line. "That's when I took the photo. I didn't want to believe it, but Jake Ryan's mixed up with some bad people." My heart sank so fast. I thought I might pass out. Bad people. Ryan, the guy who once cried during up because the old man's story hit him too hard. The guy who'd give you the shirt off his back if you needed it. It didn't add up, but the evidence was staring me in the face. That photo, that burner phone, Karen's voice trembling as she spoke, it was all too real. I stood there dumbfounded, trying to process it all. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Karen sighed, her shoulders slumping like she was carrying the weight of the world. "Because you're his best friend," she said. "He trusts you. If I confront him, he'll shut down. Mark's too wrapped up in his job. He's been working overtime at the factory. Barely notices anything's wrong. But you, Jake, you might be able to get him to open up before it's too late." That phrase, "too late," hit me like a punch to the gut. Too late for what? What was Ryan doing that could be so bad it might be too late? I wanted to laugh it off, tell her she was overreacting, that this was all a big misunderstanding. But the look in her eyes, the photo, the burner phone, it was like a puzzle coming together, and I didn't like the picture it was forming. I agreed to talk to Ryan, but I had no clue where to start. How do you confront your best friend about something like this without sounding like you're accusing him of being a criminal? I mean, this was Ryan, my raider. The guy who'd been there for me when my dad lost his job. When my high school girlfriend dumped me. When I didn't know what I was doing with my life. The idea of him hiding something this big felt like a betrayal. But more than that, it scared me. What if he was in real danger? What if I couldn't help him? That night, I stayed at their house longer than usual, pretending everything was fine, but watching Ryan like a hawk. He didn't seem any different, cracking the same dumb jokes, complaining about his fantasy football team tanking again, shoving chips in his mouth like nothing was wrong. But now, every little thing felt suspicious. The way he kept checking his phone, his thumb hovering over the screen like he was waiting for a message. The way he dodged my question about his plans for the weekend, saying, "Oh, you know, just chilling." By the time I left, my head was a mess, replaying Karen's words over and over. What was Ryan hiding? And how the hell was I supposed to get him to tell me? The next day, I texted Ryan to meet up at our favorite diner, a little greasy spoon called Mel's that we'd been going to since we were teenagers. I figured a neutral spot somewhere familiar might make it easier to talk without him getting defensive. When he showed up, he looked rough, bags under his eyes, hair messy, like he hadn't slept in days. "You good, man?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light, casual. He just nodded, sipping his coffee, but I could tell something was off. His eyes kept darting to the door like he was expecting someone to walk in at any moment. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding, and went for it. "Ryan, dude, what's going on with you? You've been acting weird lately." He laughed, but it was forced too loud, like he was trying to convince himself more than me. "Weird? Nah, I'm fine. Just work stress, you know. Boss has been on my ass." He worked at a local auto shop fixing cars. Nothing that should have him this on edge. I could feel he was lying. The words coming out too fast, too rehearsed. I pushed a little harder, testing the waters. "I heard you've been out late a lot," I said, keeping my tone neutral. His face changed just for a split second, but I caught it. His eyes narrowed, his jaw tightened. "Who told you that?" he snapped, his voice sharper than I'd ever heard it. I froze. I couldn't tell him about Karen. Not yet. Not without breaking her trust. So, I mumbled something vague about noticing his car gone at night when I drove by. He relaxed, but only a little, his shoulders still tense. "Just personal stuff," he said, shutting down the conversation like a steel door slamming shut. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to grab him by the shoulders and shake the truth out of him. Demand to know what was going on. But another part of me was terrified. Terrified of what I'd find out. Terrified of losing my best friend to whatever this was. Over the next few days I turned into some kind of amateur detective, and I hated every second of it. I checked his social media, scrolling through his Instagram and Twitter for any clues, any hint of where he was going or who he was with. Nothing. Just the usual posts about football, cars, and dumb memes. I even drove by his house a couple of times late at night hoping to catch him leaving or coming back. I felt like a total creep, but I was desperate. It was like he was living a double life and I was stuck on the outside trying to crack the code. Then one night, I got a text from Karen. It was late after midnight and my phone buzzed on my nightstand and startling me awake. It was just a single line. Check Ryan's car back seat. My stomach dropped like I was falling off a cliff. I didn't even know what I was looking for, but I couldn't ignore it. The next morning, I swung by their house when I knew Ryan was at work. His car was parked in the driveway. A beat-up Toyota Corolla, unlocked as always. Classic Ryan, never locking anything. I glanced around, my heart pounding, feeling like every neighbor was watching me through their curtains. I opened the back door, my hands shaking, and there it was, under a crumpled jacket, a black duffel bag. I unzipped it, my breath catching in my throat. Inside was a stack of cash. Hundreds of dollars, maybe thousands, rubber banded together, and a small notebook filled with names, numbers, and addresses written in Ryan's messy handwriting. None of it made sense, but it looked bad. Really bad. I called Karen right away, whispering even though no one was around. "What the hell is this?" I said, my voice trembling. She told me to meet her at a coffee shop across town. One of those quiet places where nobody pays attention to you. When I got there, she looked like she hadn't slept in days. Dark circles under her eyes, her hands wrapped tightly around her coffee mug. I showed her the bag and she went pale, her fingers trembling as she flipped through the notebook. "This is worse than I thought," she said, her voice barely audible. She explained that some of the names in the notebook matched local business owners she'd heard rumors about. People tied to shady stuff like loan sharks or worse. She didn't know how Ryan got mixed up in it, but she was sure he was in over his head way deeper than either of us had realized. I was freaking out. My best friend, the guy I'd known since we were 10. The guy who'd helped me move into my first apartment, who'd stayed up with me all night when my dog died, was caught up in something straight out of a crime show. I wanted to confront him right then and there, storm into his work, and demand answers. But Karen grabbed my arm, her grip surprisingly strong. "We need proof," she said. "If we go to him now, he'll just deny it and disappear. We need to know exactly what he's doing." She had a plan and it scared the hell out of me. She'd been tracking that burner phone's number using some app she'd found online and traced it to the guy in the photo, someone named Vince. She'd overheard Ryan on another call mentioning a meeting with Vince at an old warehouse on the edge of town that Friday night. "Come with me," she said, her eyes pleading. "We'll see what's going on for ourselves." I didn't want to go. The whole thing felt like a bad idea, like we were playing detectives in a game we didn't understand with stakes way higher than we could handle. But I couldn't let Ryan get hurt or worse. I thought about all the times he'd had my back, all the years we'd been there for each other. I had to do this for him, so I agreed. Friday night, Karen picked me up in her SUV, and we drove to the warehouse, parking a block away, so nobody would spot us. The place was straight out of a horror movie. Run down with broken windows, graffiti scrolled across the walls, and a chain link fence that was more rust than metal. We hid behind some old crates, the air smelling like oil and decay. My heart was pounding so loud I was sure someone would hear it. Ryan's car pulled up a few minutes later. He got out looking nervous, his shoulders hunched like he was carrying something heavy. Then Vince showed up with two other guys who looked just as rough, big, quiet, scanning the area like they were expecting trouble. They were talking, but we were too far away to hear much. Just snippets of words carried by the wind. Then I saw it. Ryan handed Vince a package, something small, wrapped in brown paper. Vince nodded, gave Ryan a pat on the back, and they all got into their cars and left. The whole exchange took maybe 5 minutes, but it felt like an eternity. I felt sick, my stomach churning. Whatever Ryan was doing, it wasn't good. Karen grabbed my arm, her face grim. "We need to get him out of this," she whispered, "before it's too late." The next day, I couldn't take it anymore. I was done sneaking around, done with the secrets. I called Ryan and told him to meet me at the park near our old high school, the one where we used to skip class and eat cheap tacos from the food truck. No diner, no distractions, just us face to face. When he showed up, he looked worse than ever, like he was carrying the weight of the world. His eyes were bloodshot, his hands shoved deep in his pockets. I didn't waste time, Ryan. I know about the burner phone, the cash, the guy named Vince, I said, my voice shaking with a mix of anger and fear. What the hell are you doing? His face went white like all the blood had drained out of him. For a second, I thought he was going to bolt. Just run and never look back. But then he broke down, tears welling up in his eyes, his voice cracking. Jake, I didn't want you to know, he said. I'm not a criminal. I'm trying to help someone. He explained everything and it was like a dam breaking. The guy in the photo of Vince was his cousin Emily's boyfriend. Emily, who I vaguely remembered from family barbecues, had gotten into serious debt with some bad people. Owned sharks who were threatening her life, her family, everything. Ryan had been delivering cash and running errands for Vince, trying to pay off her debt to keep her safe. He didn't tell anyone. Not me, not Karen, not his dad, because he was ashamed and scared, and he thought he could handle it alone. Thought he could fix it without dragging anyone else into the mess. I didn't know whether to hug him or yell at him until my voice gave out. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, my voice breaking. He shook his head, tears streaming down his face. I didn't want you to get hurt, man. These guys don't mess around. If they knew I told anyone, they'd come after me after Emily. Maybe even you. I told him about Karen, how she'd been worried sick, how she'd found the burner phone, how we'd followed him to the warehouse. He looked horrified, his mouth open, but then something shifted in him, like a weight had been lifted. He was still scared, but he wasn't alone anymore. We drove back to his house together and sat down with Karen. I told her everything, showed her the notebook, the cash, explained Ryan's side of the story. She was furious at first, pacing the kitchen, her voice sharp as she yelled at Ryan for being so reckless, for not trusting her or Mark. But then she stopped, her face softening, and she just hugged him, tears streaming down her face. We sat there for hours, the three of us, talking it through. Karen came up with a plan. Ryan would cut contact with Vince. No more meetings, no more packages. She talked to Mark about getting a lawyer to help Emily, maybe even go to the police if it came to that. It wasn't going to be easy. Those kinds of people don't just let you walk away. But for the first time in weeks, I felt like we had a shot at fixing this, like we were a team. Looking back, that moment on the patio with Karen changed everything. If she hadn't trusted me, if I hadn't pushed Ryan, if we hadn't worked together, who knows where he'd be right now. It's 2025 and life moves fast. Too fast sometimes. Jobs, bills, relationships, they all pull you in a million directions, but sometimes you've got to stop, take a breath, and fight for the people you care about. Ryan's still my best friend, and we're working through this together, one step at a time. He's been talking to Emily, trying to help her find a way out. And Karen's been a rock, keeping us all grounded. Mark's finally in the loop now. And while he's pissed, he's stepping up too. It's not over yet, but we're not giving up. So, that's my story. Crazy, right? I still wake up some days wondering if it really happened, if my best friend really got tangled up in something so wild. I'm sharing this because I want you to know how important it is to check in on the people you love. To ask the hard questions, even when it's scary. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think. Has anything like this ever happened to you? Have you ever had to confront someone you care about or found out they were hiding something big? And if you like this story, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and stick around for more real-life stories. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next.